Hello. Today I will be discussing the decline and degradation of magic, the reasons I believe why it's doomed, and we'll talk about sorcery as an excellent alternative. This video will cover many kinds of issues within magic, however it will spend considerable time talking about the importance of aesthetics. This is something I believe has not been criticised or spoken about enough within the community. I'll mostly be talking about traditional magic and not Commander. So let's start with the decline in game quality. It's been documented by many that around 2019 was a turning point for Magic. This seems to be the time when Hasbro decided to turbo boost Magic for increased profit. The first change was the increase to sets per year and the introduction of Secret Rare. The second change was the boost power creep to push sales of new sets. 2019 was the year of the first Modern Horizons, which was a new type of set with the intention of power creep for the modern format. One example being Hogak, which dominated the top of the Pro Tour to a level unseen in years. Then later in the year was Throne of Eldraine, which was the beginning of a new age of game design and power creep in Standard. This shows the history of Standard bans. Magic for a long time was a balanced game, but since 2017 there's been 37 bans in Standard. The more bans a TCG has, the more chaotic and unhealthy the game is. TCGs require a balance of power creep because it's a risk of annoying and losing the player base. And I don't see an end to this problem. From Throne of Eldraine, we had the notorious Oko. And then later, we've had Up the Beanstalk. And one of the most recent was Vivi. The 2025 World Championship was an embarrassment to the integrity of the game, which saw Seth Manfield commit to cast a card, then 27 seconds later asked to take the play back even though he gained the information that his opponent didn't respond to it while having 3 mana, including blue mana, open. This was an obvious example of a misplay that he should have been forced to stay with. It's unfortunate that his opponent didn't challenge this. It's a shambles and unbelievable that the judge allowed this with no time for consideration. Another major issue has been the decline in quality. Card quality has been an issue for many years now. Wizards show no care towards fixing these terrible foils, which bend within days. Very important to note that other games don't have this issue. In fact, Sorcery, which is a company with only 3 years experience, has the ability to produce perfect non-bending foils. This shows that Wizards have no care for the issue because people keep buying the sets regardless. Now I want to talk about why aesthetics matter and why this is a key issue within Magic. This is a major theme of this video, and the human experience and interaction with the aesthetics is special and beyond words. The significance manifests as feelings. It's why an appearance can look cool, beautiful, and inspiring. TCGs are card games which are partially defined by their art. Many other games don't have art at all, and that's what makes TCG special. The art of a TCG is part of the reason we love the games and why we started playing. Sometimes the sight of a single card can look so cool to you that it piques your interest and you eventually start the game. You've maybe even added a card to a deck or built a particular deck to play just because you love the art of a single card so much. Because aesthetics are fundamentally important to humans, we always seek beauty in the world around us to incorporate it into design and art. And so for people who are fans of fictional fantasy worlds and the art of such, TCGs combine the game with this kind of art. Magic was special because it's a game, a universe built upon for decades, with many planes, many characters, and so much incredible art among these worlds. For so many years, Magic was one of my favourite games, in part to the hundreds of cards with art that I loved. For over 30 years, Magic was a universe built upon, and now this is the era of complete degradation of this universe. Magic from 24 forwards has been a mix of good sets in between many dreadful sets. I think the issue here is that all the awful sets drown out was still good in Magic. And for many players like myself, it doesn't matter when its sets are good now because the game is so full of trash that it's tarnished the entire game. This set here, for example, this is an idea that just should have been scrapped. Spider-Man is dreadful. It's everything that's wrong with Magic in one set. An immersion-breaking universe beyond set with dreadful art. These action figures show exactly the mindset of the executives at Hasbro and how they view Magic. They view it as a juvenile product that should be aimed at children. TMNT is maybe the worst set ever. This set is pizza slop, utter disrespect to the Magic universe. Now we move on to what I would describe as ultra slop. Now, look at this and see the contrast between art which has respect for the universe and art which is slop with absolutely no care for anything. One of the most important things of the Magic universe is the planeswalkers as characters within this world. And one of the best aspects of Magic is these characters that take the form of legendary creatures and planeswalkers. Planeswalkers, I think, have some of the best art and are symbolic enough to be an inspiration for a deck. They also represent a pretty unique TCG mechanic, which to my understanding no other TCG has a card type similar to them. So it's unfortunate they are currently on the lowest priority due to not fitting within Universe Beyond. Some of the most iconic cards. And so when you look at this year's set lineup, no one is excited. This is very controversial, and it shows that Magic isn't on a good path. Another key problem with Magic is commanderification. Now, Commander deserves its own video, but I just want to mention that it's quite baffling why anyone would play this long term and seriously. This game mode has a fundamental serious flaw, which is the asymmetry of the field. It can be fun very casually, but it is slowly overtaking Magic. The main problem with Commander being pushed as a Magic format is it changes the priority of card design towards Commander, which is a mess and doesn't require the same level of balance as the traditional competitive formats do, and therefore it degrades the other formats. Now, when talking about the problems in Magic, most people cite Hasbro as the issue. And I think that's the case, but I don't see people explain exactly why. And I think the issue is to do with the structure of it and its particular form as a public traded company. In an interview with Bloomberg, the chief future officer of Hasbro talks about Magic, and she mentions she doesn't know how to play the game, and that they're using AI to develop the game. Another similar situation is the new Xbox CEO, being a woman with no Xbox or gaming experience. The issue lies in the fact of a company's shareholder base being spread too wide. Many publicly traded companies have their shares owned across multiple populations of many countries, within pension and investment funds held by asset management firms. These kind of firms own over 80% of Hasbro. The people who own this stock in these firms give up their voting powers, thus another team within the asset managers have to take the votes. And it should be obvious that these people have no direct interest in Hasbro or Magic, therefore are incapable of choosing an appropriate board of directors for the company. And this is exactly how an unqualified board can form, and unqualified heads of game design are assigned. This could be why in recent years Mark Rosewater seems to be undermined by the positions above. Now, the other issue with public trade company can be scale. And there's always the possibility that the larger a company becomes, the more layers of inefficiency it has. One example I could cite here is that Wizards show their DEI commitment on their website, and this concerns me as a potential layer of inefficiency due to an ideology of diversity prioritisation over hiring based purely on meritocracy. Now to note the alternative organisation structure in the form of private company, which is that if the company is small and tight among people who are actually interested in the company for the love of the product and not just profit, if the company founder is a major or majority owner, then he has the power to keep the company organised and on track in his coherent vision and doesn't have layers of inefficiency. Many examples of great success in gaming and the gaming world have come from private companies, and the one most relevant to Magic is Sorcery. Now, I think if you look at Magic from Hasbro's perspective, they want casualisation, they want Commander, they want AI game development, and they, as I've shown earlier with Spider-Man, they view it as a juvenile product. They don't take it serious. They believe it's for children. So I believe that Magic is doomed to decline in quality, to become a slot machine with no standards or respect for their universe, and I believe this is certain due to the organised structure developed from the fundamental issues of being a publicly traded company with an extremely wide spread of stock owners. The owners of Hasbro don't understand or care about the product, they only care about profit. To them, Magic is a product for profit. They don't understand. The average person owning this within a pension fund has no care for this company at all. However, the fact that Magic is still selling very well as well, that this will allow the game to completely transform away from the Magic universe that we've known towards any slop that sells in the short term. Solution. So what's the solution to this? One solution is to play older formats. I'm not a fan of this. The obvious problem is that you'll be stuck in the past with no new cards. So many other people are moving to other card games. I find Flesh and Blood interesting. However, these games are very different from Magic in art and gameplay. And personally, I still desire the core essence of Magic, and I think many people do. This is why I was so happy to find Sorcery. So imagine a game which is like Magic. However, it's combined with chess. Now that's Sorcery. However, I want to try and explain Sorcery from a particular idea I've had, which is that the way Sorcery was developed is not an entirely new game, but as like a spiritual successor, a kind of evolution of Magic. Now, we had Magic in '93, and as we know, the Magic of today is a different game, and it will continue down a path to be different in the future. Now, I believe Sorcery is an offshoot of Magic in its own way. It's very inspired by Magic. So how do we describe it? Let's imagine Magic. Let's imagine it combined with chess. What would that game look like? So, here is where I can show how the game is inspired by Magic. As you know, we have the legendary Mox of Magic. Sorcery has the cores. Magic has the Black Lotus. Arguably, Sorcery's equivalent is the Philosopher's Stone, however, a legal card. You can see this card disintegrate. You can see disintegrate. Magic, these cards are Crusade and Jihad, but this is their current state. Sorcery has Crusade and Jihad. So I just want to end this video with just a short presentation of the art of Sorcery, because the art of the game is absolutely incredible. And in future videos I'll be talking more about the gameplay. So please enjoy this, the art of Sorcery. So, thanks for watching. In the next video, I'll have an in-depth comparison on more of the gameplay, game mechanics of Magic and Sorcery. And thanks very much for watching.